of Gcine. More movies, more werewolves, more Kirsten Dunst naked, and what's this? It's like in those movies that were released like 11 years ago. Like the first one was released after 9/11, and what were they called? I don't remember what they were called, but I remember when you put your I don't want to do it, but if you put your finger in this thing. Oh my God!
Amazing, we should bear so much burden for something so small.
I will kill you. The wish is mine. I will kill you. It's mine.
I didn't think we'd be using you in more than one episode!
It's mine.
I don't think so, mother.
Fuck you, bitch.
Deal with it.
Hope you rot in the depths of Khazad-dûm.
You're just jealous because I'm the master of the ring. The one ring to rule them all.
There is only one Lord of the Rings, and he does not share power.
How about that, Josie? Why are you wearing a Batman cape?
Well, this costume thing was last minute.
They will take the ring, and you will beg for death before the end.
Shut the up, Zanzi. My God to Venom, to go like the cinema.
If you hadn't guessed it already, today's episode is totally and completely Lord of the Rings themed.
Yes, with The Hobbit due out in less than a month, it seems only fit that we discuss one of the most noted, beloved, and epic trilogies in movie history.
Well, let's get started then.
So, do you have a favorite Lord of the Rings movie?
I am partial to the Fellowship of the Ring. I like the extended editions. Sometimes I'd say either Fellowship or Two Towers, because, I mean, let's face it, Helm's Deep is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Two Towers best, I think. I don't know why, it just seems to not drag, and like one of my favorite moments, I love whenever Gandalf shows up at sunrise and he just like charges down the hill. That's like the best moment. I love it. It's so good.
Just the thing I love about these movies is, it's definitely my kind of thing. And I don't like it as much as I like, say, Star Wars, but I think the thing that I love about Lord of the Rings is that it's a good adventure, and it has everything that you want from like an action-adventure movie, but it's so meaningful, you know? It's about overcoming your fears and just the darkness within all of us. It's really meaningful. It's a movie that I like to watch when I'm having a hard time. Sometimes Frodo's struggles give me strength, you know?
Although I do feel like Sam is somewhat overlooked. Like whenever...
I agree.
Like, yeah, whenever... I think we've had this conversation before. Whenever, like, Mount Doom explodes and, like, Sauron's finally conquered, they're all cheering for Frodo. And, like, Frodo would, like, be evil and dead if it weren't for Sam. Like, he just saved his ass so many times over.
I've said it before, and I will say it again here on GTV. I wish that I had a friend like Sam. Sam is the bravest of the hobbits. Sean Astin's an awesome actor. There's a moment in each of the films, there's one in each of them that makes me cry every time. And they're all Sam moments. The first one, it's when he runs out into the river, nearly drowns, and Frodo fishes him out of the river. That makes me bawl. The speech he gives in the Two Towers about how the good in the world is worth fighting for. And then when he just picks up Frodo and takes him up the volcano, I cry. And I mean, there's a lot of good actors in that movie, like Viggo Mortensen, a lot of Oscar caliber actors, but I think the best performance is Sean Astin by far.
I think I'd have to agree. Well, what do you think? You think The Hobbit will be as good as the trilogy?
I have high hopes. Everyone's back. I mean, Peter Jackson's back. So is Ian McKellen and then some new blood. I'm excited as for Bilbo. I remember when they started talking about it, and this was before Sherlock was a thing. People were talking about who would be cast as Bilbo, and I wanted that guy from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because he looked like Ian Holm, and maybe not so much that he looked like Ian Holm, that he looked like Bilbo, you know. But he wasn't a name yet, and I remember names were getting thrown around like James McAvoy, and like, oh, well that's who's gonna get it. But you know, Sherlock came out. This movie, The Hobbit, took forever to make, and then I think the stars aligned that my first choice got the role. So I'm very excited for him.
He is a phenomenal actor. I think it is like an incredible choice, a very good idea for them to cast him as that. Yeah, I'm so thrilled with their choice of Martin Freeman. Just an excellent cast.
Well, it's definitely better than throwing yourself off a building.
Why would you say something like that?
Now, you hipsters may say that Lord of the Rings is overrated, but all we have to say is you.
Seriously, who doesn't like these films?
Well, hopefully Adam does.
Indeed. Well, let's find out so we can decide whether or not to spare his life.
Hello, everybody out there on planet Earth. I'm Peter Jackson. Just finished another long day in Wellington, New Zealand, filming the second or third Hobbit movie. I forget what it is because we're kind of filming out all. Okay, I'm gonna stop that. I can't do an Australian or a New Zealand accent anyway. Welcome to Adam's Corner. I'm gonna talk about my 5 favorite Peter Jackson movies. Like when I was in middle school, Peter Jackson was like one of my favorite directors ever. Today, I just kind of like him. I don't love him as much as I used to, but. My 5th favorite Peter Jackson movie is Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. It's great, like great action movie. Got some really good. The Helm's Deep sequence is phenomenal. It's not the best. One of my favorite Peter Jackson movies in terms of story, but it's still very well done. Very like it's got some good action in it and some good human stuff on the side. But altogether, a very fine, like solid piece of action work. Number 4 on my list is Heavenly Creatures, a movie that's not talked about these days, but really I think is like his best like human movie. I think Heavenly Creatures is everything that The Lovely Bones should have been. It's just a great movie about these young girls who get involved in murder, and Kate Winslet is really good in it, and the other girl who plays Kate Winslet's best friend is really good in it. It's just it's one of his most underrated films. It's very terrifying, it's one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. Very good. 3rd on my list is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, which really changed the way I looked at movies forever after I saw it. It's not the movie that made me want to be a filmmaker. I'd wanted to be a filmmaker long before it. But after I saw Fellowship of the Ring, I realized anything can be done with movies, and it changed the way I saw movies. And for a while, it was like the movie I could not stop talking about to kids in 5th grade when it came out in 2001. And it really healed, my wounds after 9/11, and I think it made me think about something else. That movie was a huge breath of fresh air for me in terms of the way I saw cinema in general. Number 2 for me, and people hate me for this, is Jackson's remake of King Kong, because it's such a great romantic epic. It brings back the whole. People hate me for saying this too, but it's like a David Lean version of King Kong. I mean, it's 3 hours of very old-fashioned filmmaking with with some gung-ho action and really long, beautiful vistas. And in between, and at the center of it, you got this really great love story between Naomi Watts' Ann Darrow and Kong, who's very well played and motion capped by Andy Serkis. And you've got some great supporting characters. Adrian Brody is very well cast against type as Jack Driscoll. Jack Black is he's like Orson Welles as Carl Denham. He's even better than Robert Armstrong, who played him in the original. And I ultimately, again, people hate me for saying this, but I like it better than the 30s version just because it's more emotional. The ending, the final sequence in New York just gets me every time because it's like if you compare it to the 30s version, which is just Fay Wray screaming at Kong the whole movie, the Jackson's version ends with Naomi Watts like tearing up when Kong just silently falls off that Empire State Building. And that, I don't know, I love that movie. That movie, that's like Jackson's Titanic. It takes my breath away whenever I see it. And some people hate it, but I'll always love it. And number one on my list is his masterpiece, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, which for maybe like 5 or 6 years was my favorite movie of all time. You know, I'm not as big of I don't rave about it as much as I used to, but every time I see it, it's like what Josie said. I tear up whenever Sam and Frodo are struggling to get up Mount Doom in those final scenes, and it's the ultimate ending to any trilogy, any movie. It's one of the last movies I think I'd like to watch on my final day in my life before I die, because it's one of those. It's like Apocalypse Now, and in a way, or like Schindler's List. It's like one of those movies when you're watching it and you're like, this is it. This is the final. This is the end. This is the finale. It all ends here, and it's such a great conclusion to such a wonderful series. So that's my 5 favorite Peter Jackson movies. Honestly, I think some of my admiration for Jackson was soured by The Lovely Bones, which honestly was one of the worst cinematic experiences of my life. I walked out of that movie and I was really mad with it. I'm not going to go on a tangent on why I hated that movie so much, but I'm hoping The Hobbit, I'm hoping this first movie is going to be really good. I hope it's going to bring back Jackson in my eyes as a great filmmaker. I hope it's going to launch another great Lord of the Rings series, and I hope it's going to do J.R. Tolkien proud. And I know he's gone now, but I'm sure he would have liked his Lord of the Rings movies. I'm sure he'd like this one. So those are my 5 favorite Jackson movies, and until next time, see you at the movies.
Believe it or not, there are other movies coming out other than The Hobbit, which hits theaters December 14th.
Oh my God, but who cares?
Life of Pi is about a kid and a tiger on a boat. That's it. And you can watch it in theaters on November 21st.
On the same day, Red Dawn comes out, starring not Patrick Swayze, Chris Hemsworth. Watch these young American Wolverines kill nondescript Asian communists in the fight for our freedom. Instead of trying to offend one specific country, why not offend an entire continent?
On November 23rd, Hitchcock arrives in theaters. Let's face it, Anthony Hopkins is a near-perfect role for this iconic character, and it stars Helen Mirren. You love Helen Mirren. Stop denying it.
Well, this is our last episode of the season, so happy whatever the fuck doesn't offend you, and New Year.
Yes, indeed. See you next year, my
Preciouses.
Give me the ring.
Never.
Give it to me, you
No!
bitch!